In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a working tank in Minecraft. This tutorial is meant for people who have no idea what's going on, have never made a tank before, and this will be your first one. Some knowledge of Create Mod is recommended, but not required. The mod pack will be in the Discord, linked in the video description below. Before we even start building, there's a few things that we need to do first. So you're going to press Escape, click on this button here with the Create goggles. We're going to Configure. Going to go to Gameplay Settings, Kinetics, and turn on Disable Stress. And what this means is that we won't have to deal with our engine having to actually make enough power to power the whole tank. It'll basically make infinite power. This will be on if you play on the Tank Vessel server, so you don't have to worry about that. And then we're also going to go to Access Configs for other mods. We're going to go to Create Big Cannons, Server, Failure, and disable all cannon failure so that there's no risk of our cannon exploding or messing up. And while you're here, you set these to 0. You should be fine without them, but I don't know. Even with turning off all failure, sometimes these still fail if you don't turn to 0. So whatever. Now to actually start building, we're going to first create the internals of our tank. This is what's going to allow it to actually move, drive around, turn the turret, fire the gun, all that stuff. To begin, we're going to take a ship creator, and we're going to take a gravitron, and we're going to use a ship creator on a block. Doesn't matter what block. And you'll see in the bottom left corner it'll say shipified. So this is now a ship. And you can pick it up with the gravitron and boot around. So we're going to pick it up and hold it in the air. And we're going to left click. This will freeze it so it no longer moves around. Now the internals are split into kind of 2 or I guess technically 3 parts. First of all is the engine, and then we have the transmission, which will control the tracks, and the transmission, which will control the gun and the turret. So let's start off with the engine. We're going to take a huge diesel engine and a shaft. And starting from the block that we turned into a ship earlier, we're going to place the diesel engine facing whichever way you like. It doesn't really matter. We're going to take the shaft and place it facing downwards like this. And while we're here, hold right click on the top and drag it to all the way to the right so it says counterclockwise. And then also on this side, take a wrench from Create and right click it so that it opens up. Now let's take a creative fluid tank. This will be our gas tank basically for the engine. We're going to place it here and fill it up with some gasoline. And then we're going to place a pump and then a fluid pipe. Now we're going to take the vertical 6-way gearbox. Make sure this is not the normal 6-way gearbox. Make sure it's the one that's vertical. And we're going to place it like so. And another one like that. Now we're also going to, you can break that, place a large cogwheel on this side of one of the vertical gearboxes. And so what's happening here is that the engine will turn this shaft, the power will be transmitted through here, into this cog, which will spin the pump, which will pump fuel for the engine. So this is all self-sustaining, and then also we have some outputs for power that we can use to, actually use for the rest of the tank. Before we go any further, let me actually explain some of the most kind of fundamental and most important parts of our transmission. So we have 2 blocks here. We have the inverted clutch and we have the gear shift. And if you've played Create Mod before, you might be able to skip this part. But if you haven't, basically what the inverted clutch is doing is it will take power and it will not transmit it through the block unless it has redstone. So you can see the cog is not spinning despite the side spinning until we give it power, in which case the cog will spin. The gear shift, however, when given redstone power, it will reverse the direction of the rotation. So what this allows us to do is stop anything from rotating until we want it to, and not only that, we can control which direction it rotates. What this means for us is that we can control when the tracks get power and what direction they are rotating. So we have an inverted clutch going into this gearbox, which kind of splits the power, and then 2 gear shifts so we can control the direction of rotation. So let's add this to what we have of our tank so far. We're going to take an inverted clutch and place it coming off of this gearbox. Then we're going to place another gearbox and the 2 gear shifts. So these will go into each of our 2 tracks. And then we're actually going to replace this gearbox so it faces this way. You can see it has a kind of a skinny side and then a big flat side. So we want the big flat side to be facing out the back like this. And then let's also place a gearbox coming off of this side. And we also want to be able to power the turret and the gun and have it rotate and change direction. So let's place 2 clutches coming off of here, and then 2 gear shifts. And we also want to be able to slow down the rotation because the power coming out of the engine is too fast. So to slow it down, we'll add 2 redstone resistors. And then to actually slow it down, we're going to take an analog lever, place on each of these, and then flick it all the way, and then shift right click one time. So they are now at 14 out of 15 power, redstone power. So these resistors are slowed almost all the way down. There's one more component I need to explain, which is the energy transmitter. Basically what this does is it allows you to literally transmit rotation from any one of these blocks to another one of these blocks. You can see if we spin this hand crank, it will also spin the cog, despite these two blocks not being connected in any way. And then also you can change the kind of the channel these are on basically, so that not every transmitter is powering every other transmitter. So to do this, just right click it and we'll type in basically what we want the password to be. So we'll make this one, let's say, we'll just call this one power. And we'll also name this one power. So you can see the two transmitters that we name power are spinning, but this one is not because it's on a different channel. So being able to transmit power wirelessly, what this means for us is that we can get power off of here from our engine to use somewhere else. And then we can also get power off of here, and this will be used to rotate the gun, because we can't directly connect this from here to the gun. So we need to transmit the power wirelessly. In fact, while we're here, let's name this transmitter so we know it's for the gun and it's on the gun channel. We will just name it tank gun, let's say. And this transmitter will be used for the loader later, so let's call it tank loader. And believe it or not, that is all you need to make a tank work. Basically. Obviously we still need tracks and the gun and a bunch of other stuff, but this is basically the heart of our tank. Before we add the turret or anything else, let's actually outline the shape of our tank so we know what we're working with. This is going to be 6 wide, it's 4 wide, 4 blocks wide, and then +2 for the tracks on your side. And a good rule of thumb is for your tank to be kind of twice as long as it is wide. So we're going to make this thing 12 blocks long, that being 12, and we'll also flesh out this side. And now is also a good time to add the tracks. So there's 2 types of track blocks that we need. First of all is the sprockets. So there's the normal or small, there's a medium, and there's a large. We're gonna go with the medium. And then there's the suspension, of which there is small, medium, and large. We're gonna go with the medium again. The medium sprockets will go on each of the ends, and this is where you will actually power the track, and the suspension blocks will go in the middle. And this is where it actually contacts with the ground and drives the tank. Now I'm just gonna very loosely add some blocks on top of the track so we know the shape of the tank a little bit better. That's all we're doing. And now we can add the turret. So we're going to take the Phys bearing and we're going to place it right here. Although actually we want it facing up. So I'm going to shift place from underneath so it faces upwards. And then I'm going to place a block on top of it as a manual block. Then we will right click to assemble it. So now you can see we have a block here which is shipified and it allows it to spin as our turret. Now as we're placing blocks on top of the turret, you may realize, hold on, this tank is 6 blocks wide, and the turret wants to be in the middle, so how are we going to fix that? And the answer is with this, the drop-in destroyer, which allows us to kind of move the position of the turret a little bit, just a little bit, without having to actually move the Phys bearing or any other blocks. So we're just going to take it, and we're going to right-click on this corner of the bottom of the Phys bearing, so you can see this kind of top right corner from where I am. We're just going to right-click there, and you'll see the turret on top move. So it is now actually centered within the 6 block wide tank. Now I want to work on the turret, but the hull is kind of in the way. What I would like to do is move the turret out of the way, kind of separate it so we can work in them both separately. What we can do is right click to drag the turret, left click to freeze it, and then we're going to do /vs Valkyrian Skies get ship. And this will tell us the name of this ship. So the name is Tennis Robin Flock, and what we're going to do now is we're going to do /vs teleport Tennis Robin Flock, hit enter. We're going to add the tildes for where to actually teleport it, and then hit enter, and it will teleport our turret up for us. Now we can work on them both separately. Now let's actually add the gun. So we're going to build down a few blocks, this just so we can place our cannon mount right here. Make sure the side with the hammer is facing kind of inwards. It doesn't have to be, but it's better this way. And the cannon we're going to use for this is the steel medium cannon. So we'll have the parts here, the barrel, the recoil barrel, and the breech. So we're going to build out a couple blocks with the recoil barrels, which are the thicker ones, then switch to the normal barrels. You'll notice that at some point, you stop being able to place on this block. This block is like, it almost doesn't exist. You can fly through it, you can't break it, you can't place on it. And what is happening here is that the ship is actually not that big. It only ends here. So the ship doesn't actually know this block is here, because the barrels are not solid. And so all we have to do is build out with some solid blocks, and now the ship knows that it's this big. And we can start placing on here again. Now let's replace the last block of the recoil barrel of the gun with the breech. And then let's throw on a lever. You can also use a redstone block or whatever you want. But the point is that we're going to power the hammer side of the mount, side of the hammer. And you should hear the gun assemble. Now let's add the transmitter we talked about earlier, which will allow us to transmit power wirelessly from our hull, controlling the gun, to the actual gun itself. We're just going to take this block here, the transmitter, and control middle click, which will block pick it with NBT data. So you can see the purple plus NBT, and then place it right here, or right here, it doesn't really matter. If we want to release the turret and allow it to drop back in, all you have to do is right click it with the gravitron, and it will drop back in. And you'll notice that it's kind of wedged in here, and it's because the gun and the hull are clipping into each other, and they don't want to be stuck like that. So to make it so the turret and the hull don't interact with each other, what we can do is take the tool gun from VMod. We're going to press tab, and you will see a bunch of options. These are going to be kind of scary at first, but all we're going to do is click on disable collisions, and this will allow us to disable the collisions, obviously, between the turret and the hull. So left click the turret, and then left click the hull, and now as you can see, they can spin freely. None of the blocks have collision with each other, so they can be placed inside of each other, and it doesn't care. I'll move the turret back up so we can add the autoloader, which will of course actually load the gun for us, so you don't have to, or somebody else doesn't have to. So we're going to grab a few things. We have the mechanical arm from Crate Mod, we have the cogwheel, the depot, and the hopper. I'm also going to control middle click this transmitter here, which will power the loader itself. So first let's place the depot and the hopper to provide the ammo, and then we're going to place the transmitter to power the arm, and then we'll take the arm. We will right click the depot, right click the mount, and you'll see it selects them, and then place it right here. And there are other orientations that you can build this. The only thing to watch out for is that the redstone from the lever or the redstone block that you have here, if it powers the hopper or the arm, then they will not work, just because that's a function of them, like fundamentally. So you can do whatever you want, just as long as you don't place the arm here next to the lever or on top of it or anything like that. For the arm to load the gun, it actually needs to be, the breech needs to be open. So let's open the breech for it, and then we'll just leave it open like that, so we can load it later. While we're here, we can load the hopper with some ammo, so we don't have to do it later. The best round is going to be APFSDS, which is armor piercing, free stabilized, discarding Sabo. But before we load it, let's actually craft it, the APFSDS medium cane cartridge, with a tracer tip from Great Big Cannons. As well, just put a tracer on the projectile so you can see it when you fire it. And now we can load all of that into here. And you will notice that you only have 5 stacks of ammo, but trust me, 5 stacks is plenty, like more than you'll ever need. If you're worried about running out, you can place a creative crate here, which will provide an infinite amount of whatever you filter it with. So you can put that in there. And now you have infinite ammo, but really you do not need it. While we're here, let's protect the loader from explosions and stuff with some obsidian. So we can take some copycat panels and place them all around our loader here. I'm literally just going to encase the entire thing with some panels, including on the bottom. It doesn't need, we're not going to put armor in these panels, because that's what the armor is for. All we're doing is protecting it from explosions that can kind of sneak inside the tank without getting too much into it. So I'm just covering everything up. You can leave the transmitter exposed because it's kind of already very durable. And then for corners like this where you can't, place it on both sides, you can just place a full block of obsidian and then fill in all the rest of the copycats with obsidian. And if you don't know, copycat blocks are just blocks which come in various different shapes. And whatever block you place inside of it, it will take on the texture of. So instead of needing a wool slab or a wool stairs, you can just have a copycat of it. And we will be using these a lot later to decorate our tank and actually give it some shape. Speaking of which, let's actually do that now. So let's begin to build the exterior of our tank. So to start, we have this very chunky shape. Let's begin with some slope layers here. Slope layer. And also grab a slope edge. And we will put these over the front of the tracks. Like so. And if you can't see, basically every time you place a layer, it will stack up more and more. And it'll begin stacking up the front part after the back part is full. And we'll take these slope edges and put them on here. For this middle part here, which is called the upper front plate, let's break away this stuff. And I'm going to show you probably one of the most powerful decorative blocks or shaping blocks in the whole mod pack, being the framed collapsible block. Frame blocks like this, or like this edge here, are just copycats. You put a block in it, it takes on that texture. But in any case, the framed collapsible block we can use the framed hammer here. You'll see these red dots and things, and you can hit it with the hammer, and you will change the shape just slightly by 1 pixel. But we can change the shape to be wherever we want it to be. So we can move these corners down, move this one down, move this one down. We can move this one up, and have it be whatever shape we want it to be. But right now, let's place 3 like this. And we're doing this on the ground, because if you put it on a ship, then it doesn't register correctly sometimes. So it's better to do it on the world and then move it to the ship later. Anyway, we're putting 3 of them, and we're going to move this corner down all the way, and then shift left click 1 time to move it up exactly 1 pixel. And then we're going to move this one down exactly 10 pixels. And this one down 5 pixels. So now we have this very nice smooth slope here, and we're going to do this for the other side, of course. So now we have this long framed ramp, and we're going to control middle click again, and we'll see it preserves the shape of the frame block. Control middle click all of these, and then place them right here on the tank. For the lower part here, which is called the lower front plate, we're going to use the framed extended slope panel, which is a bit of a mouthful. Basically, it's just this block, which is kind of a slab at the top and a full block at the bottom. And we're going to place them upside down, like so. So we have this nicely sloped top part here and then a lower part here. For the rear part, we're going to take some Copycat slabs or frame slabs if you really want. It doesn't really matter. And just put them all along the back here. And we'll take some framed slope panels, which is just a slab at the bottom, and it comes to a point at the top. And we're going to place them upside down, like so. So we have a slight slope in the back, and then a flat part. Over the engine deck, we're going to add a Copycat slope layer, same one as we use in the front. And we're going to add a 4/16. And what this is, it is literally just a fraction of the blocks. You see 216, 4/16, 6, 10, 12, all the way up to 14 and 16. So you can see here, they're literally just fractions of a block. We're going to place them like so. And we're going to have a Copycat half layer. And what layers are, as you've seen with the slopes, is layers are, you can stack them and they get kind of bigger and bigger. So we're going to place it right here, so it fits within this slab, and it goes up exactly 4 out of 16. And then of course repeat that for the rest of the engine deck. Not bad. Now the last thing I want to do before we move on to the turret is we're going to take some Copycat headstock right here. And what this is a 12 pixel tall panel. So it's 3 pixels thick and 12 tall. And we're going to place these all along the side here. And we're going to take a Copycat panel and a bite panel and place them here. And then the bite panel, which is a quarter of a block, 3 pixels thick, we're going to place them here and here. And then again, repeat for the other side, like so. Let's begin by giving the turret some shape. And you can actually place blocks inside of the gun here, as long as it's assembled. When you assemble the gun, it stops being blocked and it becomes an entity. So you can clip blocks inside of it and it'll be fine. This is the part that's going to go over the engine deck, which is raised. So let's raise this part up a little bit. Let's take the slope layer and place 7 of them so it looks like this. And then we'll take a 12 out of 16, which is 12 pixels thick, the same as the back of the slope here, and place it like this so it lines up. Now the front is looking a bit boring, so let's make it a little bit more lively with some frame collapsibles. So we'll need to do this twice for each side of the turret cheeks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this corner 8 times, this one in the middle 12 times, and this one 16 times all the way back. So now we have this slope here. And then we'll hit this bottom corner 4 times, and then this corner 8 times. So now we have it sloped on the top like this, sloped on the bottom like this, and also has a bit of a vertical slope. So we can control middle click to block pick it, and then we can replace these blocks here, and then just do that for the other side as well. There we go. So what we're going to do now is actually raise up the turret, or rather thicken it, just a little bit. Let's take these same slope layers and the 4/16s from the engine deck. And then for the last part, let's do a slope, so it blends in a little bit better. And then we'll raise it up a little bit more over the gun. Anyway, to finish off the kind of building part of our tank, let's take some panels, and we'll just cover up the whole bottom here. Let's actually leave this part open underneath this clutch and this gearbox at the very back. We're going to not cover that up, and you will see why later. Now the shape of our tank is basically done. Now we need to make it kind of look pretty. First of all is the camo. We have all these copycats and frame blocks waiting to accept whatever texture you want to put in it. So let's pick something to make our tank out of. Your best choice for armor and also for look is going to be something from rolled homogeneous armor, which gives you a bunch of colors to work with. I'm going to go with, let's go with this one. Note that each color comes with a couple of variants, like you see here. I like to build with this one, the slashed variant, which is kind of the smoothest texture. A really easy way to make your tank look better is, let's drop it down. We're going to take the wrench, and we're going to wrench some of the tracks, because this is a lot of road wheels. This is more road wheels than most tanks have. So we can wrench a track block, and it will, a suspension block that is, and it will hide it. So now we have a more normal number of tracks. And you may notice that now there's some odd spacing here, like there's a gap here where the road wheel should be. We can fix that with the track toolkit. We're going to right click it twice. So it looks like this hydraulic, whatever. I actually don't know what this is. It's like a pneumatic wheel gun or something. But anyway, depending on where we right click on this track, it will actually move the road wheel. So we can right click all the way to the right, and it will move it all the way to the right. And we can do that for all of these. And then for the last one, we can move this one all the way to the right to kind of close the gap, but also we can move the invisible track all the way to the left. And so it blends in very nicely now. While we're here, if we right click to it's like an air pump. When we right click the track, we can see it adjusts the track stiffness. Let's just make it 4 times. Our tank is riding a bit high, so we can lower the suspension with the suspension controller. And we'll add a creative motor. It doesn't have to be creative motor, whatever you want, just as long as it spins. Depending on the direction in which it spins, it will either raise or lower the tracks. Usually I like to go for it being exactly 1 block above the ground, maybe a little bit less. And that looks pretty good. One more deco thing that is also functional is the smoke discharger. There's a couple of variants. Let's go with the, let's do the M250. So we place it on the side of the turret, and then we can wrench it to make it look different and also change its direction. And these do actually work to discharge smoke. I'll show you that later. Now, finally, it is time to make our tank actually work. Now, how we're going to control a tank is with cables. These are a sort of recently added mod, and it allows you to control the buttons, the inputs from your controller, and move them, have them go directly into redstone things on your tank. Before we do anything else, click escape, and then this button here with the controller, go to general configurations, and check on custom mappings. And don't forget to click save. Then go back, go to controller configurations, scroll all the way down, and copy these binds. These are kind of the standard binds. So we have WASD, arrow keys, left shift, space, and then one kind of special button, which I have on R on D-pad down. And to bind, all I have to do is click on the button, and then press the corresponding key on your keyboard, and it'll bind it. And then don't forget to save. Now that we've done that, we can place the tweet controller hub. This is kind of how we program our controller to talk to our tank. But in any case, we're going to take our cable, right click here, and now we can see at the bottom of the screen we have axis left X plus. And when we scroll, it will change to some other bind. These are binds on the controller. So first of all, axis left X plus. This is axis left being WASD, and X plus being D or right. So we want right to turn the tank right, of course. So we're going to, let's break these. We want right to, first of all, drive both tracks, and then reverse the right track. So the left track goes forward, right track goes backwards, and the whole tank turns to the right. Now if we scroll up one to X minus, so we want to drive both tracks. We want to reverse the track on the left. So the right track will go forward, left track will go backwards, and the whole tank turns to the left this time. Then we have left Y plus, which is kind of up or forward. So we just want to drive both tracks and reverse neither of them. And then for Y minus, if you can guess, we want both tracks to go backwards. So we want to, first of all, drive them, and then reverse both the left and the right, so everything goes backwards. Now we scroll past those, we have X plus, right X plus that is. So this is for the arrow keys, specifically turning the turret to the right. So let's do just this one, and then if we scroll to X minus, let's do this one and then also reverse it. If we scroll more to Y plus, we want to move the gun up, so let's do just this one. And for Y minus, move the gun down, we want to drive it and then also reverse it. While we're here, break these blocks and then wrench the Phys bearing so that it faces like so. So now the Phys bearing is kind of facing this way, so it should spin like this, but we assembled it so it spins like this, if that makes sense. but the power now comes into it from this side. So it'll power it from this side, but it'll still spin the turret as it should. We only have a few things to bind on the turret. Let's scroll all the way up to axis trigger right. This is our firing key, which we will do on the front of the mount, the cannon mount, which shows this little thing. And now if we click again and scroll down to D-pad down, which is our special button, I'm going to use it for the smokes here. Let's drop our turret back down. Let's leave the hull up for a second so we can start the engine. So to start out, we're going to take a cogwheel and a hand crank. And we're going to place the cog here and the hand crank on top of that. And we're just going to spin the hand crank. And this is just going to basically prime the engine, get the fuel flowing, and from there the engine will start, and it will spin the pump by itself and everything else. Let's drop the tank down. And now to actually bind our controller that we have, we want to actually talk to the controller hub and to the rest of the tank. We can just right click on the controller hub. Now if you finally right-click your controller, you can see the fruits of your labor and actually drive the tank, except everything is reversed. Depending on which way you build your tank facing, as in north, east, southwest, it may or may not be reversed. If it is reversed, all you need to do is break these blocks here and replace these gear shifts with some inverted gear shifts, which will literally just spin the opposite direction and re-reverse everything so it spins the right way. And now the tank drives just fine. As for the turret, we have left, right, up, down. If you need to reverse any of these, again, you can go down here. You can break these gear shifts and replace them with an inverted gear shift, so it will change the direction. And now we can press space to make sure the gun works, which it in fact does. And our special key, which for me is R, to pop these smokes. Now before we save it, let's actually add a seat, so we don't have to add that every time. Let's put a seat in here so we can sit inside the tank and, you know, have somewhere to drive it from. I'm going to put it in the middle, kind of right here. And then we'll cover that up with a Copycat trapdoor, which again, we can put whatever block we want inside of. I like to do a riveted version of whatever block I'm building out of, just so it's a little bit more obvious. And so now we can sit inside of this seat, and if we go into F5, we have a view of the whole thing. Now for saving the tank, we want to make sure the tank is actually in a state to be saved. For example, we need to stop the engine, because it can cause problems if you save it with the engine running. So I'm literally just going to break it and then replace it. This is the easiest way. And when you replace it, make sure it's spinning the direction you want. And then also wrench the side so we can actually take the fuel input. Let's cover that back up. And one more thing being the network block. This is very important. All those cables we added, they're not going to save in your schematic unless you add a network block. You just need to have one somewhere on the hull and then somewhere on the turret. Now to save, let's grab that tool gun from earlier, the Valkyrian mod tool gun. Press tab, go to schematic. I already have a bunch, obviously you won't have these. And let's left click on the hull, or the turret, actually doesn't matter. And you will see this red box. So this is currently your tank. You can rotate it with a scroll wheel. What we want to do right now is save it. So let's press tab again. We'll press save, and then we'll name it. So I'm just going to call it tutorial tank, and then click save. So now you can scroll down to tutorial tank, and then when you right click, you can paste it however many you want. Now let's say you're going to place your tank on a server, let's say, or in a new world, or a sim world. How do you set it up? We're going to first, again, press tab, go to schematic, scroll down to your tank, press load, make sure you have the red boxes, and right click. The first thing you want to do is cable the network block from the hull, or whatever ship the controller hub is on. Cable this block to that block, and it will say relinking, you know, whatever the name is, to the other thing. And this is how you save the cables from here to the turret. By default, it only saves the cables from here to the hull and not from here to the other ship. And now we can actually start the tank like normal. So we can put in the cog, the hand crank, spin her up, cover that, and then right click on the controller hub, and everything is working perfectly. Do note that you actually don't need this after you've bound your controller, and in fact, if you need it again, you can put it back, bind it again, and it'll be fine. You don't need to have it inside your tank. You don't need to protect it. You can have it outside your tank, use it once, and then break it. It's not like something in your transmission that you need to be there for your tank to actually work. So this has been how to make a working tank in Minecraft. Hopefully you found this informative and you can use this knowledge. And maybe you can play on the Tank Tussle server with your new tank. Speaking of which, the server, the mod pack, everything is in the Discord in the video description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.